Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our latest webinar. My name is Martin McNamara from ProvidentCRM, so thanks for coming along this afternoon. This is the latest in the series of our webinars, which we're delighted to do for the first time actually in person. So both myself and Z are in the same room today, which is a novelty in itself. So today we're going to be talking about how we can use Monday.com, how you can manage your entire sales process with one platform. So I'll just take you through our agenda for this afternoon. So I'm just going to do a really quick introduction into who we are at Provident, a little bit about Monday.com, why we think Monday can be useful for you for the sales process, in terms of being both a project and a task management system all in one, run through a demo of exactly how we can use it. And we'll try and get through as much of that as possible we can in the time that we've got. And then we'll have a few minutes then at the end for some questions and so on at that stage. Altogether, we've got about an hour, but hopefully we'll get to it all in that time. So just real quickly, in terms of Provident, who we are, what we do, we've been dealing with CRM for quite a long time now. A lot of experience in that area, a lot of different products we've used along the way. As you can see, we're partners with a number of different CRM specialist solutions, and we've got a lot of experience in terms of putting in CRM systems in different organizations, making sure they fit with your particular requirements and fit with your particular workflows and so on. So what do? So we can help basically get the system, get Monday.com set up to suit your requirements. So to understand what you need from a platform, implement it properly within your business, make sure it's configured to match with your workflows, your particular processes, your particular vocabulary, your terminology that you might use. Integrate Monday with other tools that you might be using across the system, whether it's as simple as email and calendar or finance and ERP systems. We can help connect those into Monday to give you that centralized picture of whatever's going on. And then really importantly, then we can also facilitate as regards training. So with any system, new system, when you put it in place, it's really important, obviously, that people use the system, make the most of it, and actually know how to use it. So it's really important that we do that training with your team so they know how to make the most out of it. I'm going to hand you over now to Z, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about Monday in more detail, and then I'll come back to you then afterwards to run through the demo.
Fantastic. Thanks, Martin. Feels weird having a real life handover, but here we are. Fantastic. So yes, thanks everyone for joining again. I'm Z, I'm the Channel Partner Manager for the UK and Ireland, and I will just take you through very quickly an overview of what Monday.com does, and also some insight that might be helpful specifically for sales teams. So yeah, in a nutshell, Monday.com is a software that really helps collaboration and makes teamwork click. We are designed to have any process, any project, or any part of a business that can be automated put into one place. And we've built that as a work operating system because we truly believe it can be used by all areas of most businesses. So this comes from our experience working with over 130,000 different companies. Obviously, we're very grateful and happy to be working with so many companies, but also, as you can see, a lot of those companies come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. You know, you've got people like Zippo, Walmart, Coca-Cola, all in different industries. But the one thing that they have in common is that they are set up with organizational silos, which is what we call the gaps between different teams. So what the reason for that, from what we've seen, is that there are just loads of different types of software that's used specifically for an operations team or by a marketing team or finance. And those are all really great at doing what they do. However, what that leads to is technology that doesn't really speak to each other. So Monday is really here to act as a connective tissue and be flexible enough to be used by HR and also robust enough to be used by engineering, so that the company has all of that information in one place and doesn't have to go to different people to get answers. So we are going to move on in a second to some of the insights that we've got about sales teams. But for now, just wanted to pause and do a very quick poll about some of the challenges that you're seeing as an audience, which should be on your screens shortly. Apologies for that. We had a slight technical hiccup, but you should be able to see your polls on the screens now. So I'll just give everyone a minute or two to cast a vote and we can take a look at those.
Polls voted.
Fantastic. Okay, so thanks everyone for participating in that short poll. Obviously not scientific, but good to know what's on your minds. And actually from that, reporting was one of the main things that were highlighted, along with visibility as well. So that's really interesting because it's actually ties in with some of the research that we have conducted and done independently, which shows that reporting is something that's becoming much more important. And sadly, one of the ways that reporting is kept up to date is salespeople actually having to do a lot of manual updates, whether that's changing a contact profile or adding the right number on an opportunity, whatever that is. At the moment, on average, sales teams are only spending about 45% of their time selling. The rest of the time is spent doing things that are not necessarily pertinent to talking to their customers or their contacts. So that can get very frustrating for salespeople who are, or commercial people in general, who are spending time raising invoices or, as I said, updating data, because every minute that you're doing that is time that you're spending not talking to your customers. Another challenge as well is that as sales cycles evolve and products become more complex, so does the buying cycle. So on average, the sort of good benchmark to have is around 6.8 stakeholders for every successful deal, certainly at the enterprise level, but also for SMBs. And with that, there are increasingly more contacts that sales teams have to speak to. You could potentially be reviewed by IT, legal, whomever else. And so it's becoming a little bit harder to track activities with each of those stakeholders. Particularly because of COVID, where it's harder to get everyone in the same room as well. So that's some of the challenges that we see for sales teams, but also in terms of sales team management, really COVID and remote working is a big factor in how people behave and work as well. So that's really changed the focus on what's becoming important from sales managers. So that graph on the left there shows basically just the poll of whose teams whose sales teams are completely remote, and you can see there overwhelmingly for next year there's still likely to be 75% or so of people working just from home, which of course, as we all know, comes with its perks, but the issues there are it's difficult to then have the same interactions. You can't go over to your colleague in the office and ask them where they are with a certain project or a deal. Managers really want to have that reporting visibility, but at the same time don't want to fill people's diaries up with loads of different catch-ups and meetings and come across as overbearing. So really a tool like Monday can help with having that information without needing to schedule in time to talk about those and have those conversations every week. At the same time, what Martin will show you as well is some more in-depth demo of our forecasting and reporting tools. Obviously, it's something that came up in the poll, but it is a key feature of Monday that we find is really helpful for sales teams. Fantastic. And before I hand back to Martin for the demonstration, just wanted to give everyone an insight into how we ourselves use Monday.com. So within Monday.com, we have 7 offices all across the world, 1,000+ employees, and phenomenal growth in that number for next year as well, which means really it can be difficult to communicate with all of our colleagues across the world. But the one thing about Monday.com is that it's really used by every single team in the business. I joined the company in March, and myself and everyone else who joins the company were immediately onboarded using a Monday board. So that behavior was there from day one to use a system which the rest of the business uses. And actually, aside from the onboarding, we also have some keyboards that we use, which are super helpful and used every day. So for example, we have a repository for key documents where customers might need simple things like a bank detail or a VAT number. So instead of someone asking the finance team for that every single time, it's right there and visible to everyone. We also have boards that are specifically for collaborating with different teams that might be involved in the sales process. For example, if a contract needs review, we can just collaborate with the legal team directly and ask for their feedback without having to schedule a meeting. And we also have a fairly new feature called Work Docs that helps with that collaboration as well. And in any department, whenever there is a new project, whether that's planning for our conferences, whether that's looking at initiatives for our clients, all of those projects are tracked within monday.com itself. So it's really, as I was saying earlier, the connective tissue between all of our departments. But going back to the topic at hand, which is managing the sales process, I will pass back to Martin for the demo.
Thanks, C. And we're going to do another quick poll, just again to get some of your insights, if you don't mind, in terms of some of the challenges you might be facing. So we're just going to bring that up again. So just to see what your kind of needs are, you feel where areas you feel you don't have the right information at the moment. So again, just to give a minute or two, just get some results from you there. Really appreciate it. Just help inform the demo that we're going to run through next and give some idea in terms of what you want to see from there. So just leave that there for a second, just to get that feedback from you. Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks for your time there. Appreciate that. We've got some interesting information on there. So I'm going to run through now a bit of a demo, show you what Monday looks like from a CRM perspective. So I'm just going to share and change the screen here. So you should be able to see my screen there now. So some of you are familiar with Monday, some of you may already be using Monday. And I suppose this is where we get into maybe the more interesting bit that hopefully you've come along to see, is how we can do this how we can do this better in monday.com than maybe you're doing today. So as I said, some of you are using Monday and you're probably familiar with it. Other people may not have seen Monday before. So I'm just going to run through some of what we can do from a Monday perspective when it comes to managing your whole sales process. I'm going to start at the top. So one of the things that came up earlier on was around reporting. So what does that look like? What do I mean from that? And how can we present some useful information using Monday? So I've got a number of different dashboards here, which I just want to run through quickly, which can give you an idea. So I've got an overview dashboard here. And what this enables us to do is see an overall picture of our account management at the moment. So we can see our revenue, we can see our renewals that are at risk for whatever reason. We can see when we're expecting renewals by month. Bit of a sales overview in terms of our targets, how we're doing on those targets, what's our total to date, what's our forecast for this month, and then deeper into the detail then behind that, which teams are on track or behind in terms of their targets, where are the particular areas of business coming from, what's our pipeline look like, headline figure for overall, the months where that's split across and where we expect it to go to. And then, and I think this ties in with some of what Z was saying earlier about kind of connective tissue, we can then go into collection overview. So we've sold whatever it is, we've invoiced for our service, our product. How are we actually getting the cash? How are we doing on that perspective? Can we get the money into the business? Because ultimately, that's what it's all about. So we can build that into the dashboard here. We can see how we're doing in terms of collecting that, and we can even delve deeper into that. So this is showing me here a summary of my collections for my customers. And I can see here on this orange bar here, that 63% my collections are not yet collected. So that's a concern for me. I want to delve into the detail behind this. So I'm just going to click into this and it's going to show me all the deals that are not yet collected. So I can see, for example, my Facebook deal here. It's not collected and the invoice hasn't been sent. So I want to deal with this. So I can go right into here and I can mention my colleague in here I can say why has this not. I'm straight away moved from my reporting, my dashboarding that I can see, straight into contextual communication around a particular issue that I've seen here. And now Charlie can reply to me in here and we can have that conversation and I can see what's going on. That's just one example of a dashboard. I want to show you a couple of others then as well, just to give you some idea of the flexibility. And what I'm going to do then after I've shown you the dashboards is I'm going to go back into the base boards that are providing this information so it starts making sense. So that's my overview. I can have a pipeline specific dashboard then as well. So more specifically in terms of the deals that I have going on for the year, what's that looking like? So there's my overall goal for the year. Here's where I'm doing against that target. I can see my pipeline again, my number of open opportunities, which teams are generating those opportunities, what are those values, what kind of breakdown of the statuses around them, who's generating those pipeline opportunities, when are they being generated? And again, I can delve into more detail. I can expand any one of these, delve into more detail around these. So these dashboards can be set up to show whatever particular metrics or KPIs are relevant to your business. These are, again, just some examples of them. So we've done an overview, we've done a pipeline, we can look at a sales dashboard then as well, just presenting the information in different ways. So again, just some different numbers that we can look at, some different charts. In this particular case, we're probably gonna have to fire these two people. They've only done one activity this month, but just in terms of an indication of not just the numbers, but actually what are the activities that are taking place? Are people busy? Are they having meetings? Are they having calls? Because that's a good indicator to not pipeline maybe today, but pipeline next week, next month, next year. And again, forecast numbers, top opportunities that I want to see. So I can see the value around those. Which people are selling the most? How are they doing versus their target? How are the team doing versus their target? So again, whatever kind of metrics I want to see around that, I can do that. I covered briefly collections earlier on. So again, the cash money that we need to get. So this is a collections overview dashboard. So again, just looking at how we're doing from that perspective. So this is where we're connecting now Monday, not just from the sales perspective, but also now into finance. So now finance are involved. They can see what needs to be collected, how they're doing against this. And then management obviously can see how the finance team are doing in terms of collecting those outstanding invoices and payments. One more, which I'm going to cover, two more I'm going to cover, account management. So just again, how are we doing in terms of our accounts? Have they been successfully? Let me just. Have they been successfully onboarded as our new client? What's our renewal rate looking like? And whatever else we want to see in terms of onboarding clients. And then the last one I want to show you is hiring. So we've got a plan for the year. We've got our revenue target. We've got our number of customers we need to have. We define where it needs to be split across different teams, different products. We need to make sure that we've got the right headcount to deliver on that. So now we're bringing the HR team into Monday and we're involving them in that process. And we can see how we're doing in terms of getting the right people in place to deliver upon those targets that we've set. How's our hiring timeline looking like? Are we going to have people in place in order to ramp up and to grow throughout? So there's just some examples of dashboards that we can build which give us that high level visibility. What I like then about these is I don't have to run a report. I don't have to write a report. I don't have to put it together. By me using the system and keeping my data up to date, the dashboard is automatically kept up to date and it's visible and it's live at all stages. I can schedule an email to be sent, so I can say, well, listen, Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock, I want to send out this dashboard, or Monday morning at 9 o'clock, I want to send out this dashboard, and I can do that, but equally it's live and available all the time for anybody who needs to see it. So that's the business analysis, the kind of top end stuff that we're showing here. So this is giving us whatever metrics and KPIs that we want to see. And obviously we can change this to suit your particular requirements. But then what do we look like from a day-to-day perspective, from the salesperson perspective, from the actual sales process? So what we're going to do is we're going to start on our work boards. So boards, for those of you who don't know, a board is kind of the fundamental building block of Monday.com. It's rows and columns, so it's familiar to you from possibly other tools that you might be using, which gives a great, it makes it familiar to users then as well, makes it simple to onboard with, makes it something for them easy to grasp. So I'm just going to run through a little bit of a sales process and show you how we can go from getting a new lead all the way through to an opportunity, which ultimately feeds in then to the dashboard that I showed you earlier. So I've got my new lead. I'm going to say Z is my new lead. I'm going to put him in here. I'm going to automatically assign him to me as a salesperson. And I'm going to say he works for, change of job, the company. We're going to put you into Provident. Okay. So I've had some communication with Z. I've identified he works for ProvidentCRM. He is a new lead. I'm going to put in his details here around his email address and maybe what got a promotion, good news. We're going to put in some other information that we want to capture, phone number, whereabouts he is, so on and so forth. So whatever information we feel is relevant to capturing the lead information, we can put that into here. I can put in the size of his company. So I think he said 1,000 people, the revenue, lots and lots. So we're just going to put a number here. And all of this then is going to feed into my lead score. So based on this, so I've put in one or a couple of bits of information, nothing too extreme. And the system then has started doing some work for us already. So what it's done is it's automatically identified that he works for an existing account that I have in the system. I need to know that because I need to then see what other collaboration, how we're dealing with that company. It's also given me a lead score for Z based on some of the information I've put in. So I've identified particular criteria that are important to me from a lead perspective. So in this case, I think it's title, so level of seniority, size of the company, revenue. So based on that information which I've captured, it's given me a lead score, and then I can start arranging my priorities and how I want to approach my different targets, my different leads based on the lead scoring. So I've got my new lead in. I can see the level they're at. I can see they're part of an existing account. I'm going to have an initial call with my prospect and understand then, are they suitable prospect? Have they got a definite opportunity worth pursuing? So I've had my discovery call. I'm going to say, yes, they're qualified. They're an existing account. So I'm going to select that box. Again, some automations are going to run now in the background, and it's going to move things on from there. So we've moved Z now from our new leads. He's no longer a new lead. We've had some communication. And what's happened now is a couple of things have happened in the background. And this is where we're using the power of Monday, the automations from Monday, to actually drive activity. They're not just relying upon me inputting data, but rather the system doing some work for us. So what's happening in the background is we've got a number of different automations running. And so just to give you a picture in this, we've got a couple of different ones. So for example, when the region changes to a particular region, different people get assigned automatically based on the geography. So whatever area they're responsible for, they'll get that. When the status then changes, so this one here changes to qualified to an existing account, it's moved the item then into my next group, which is qualified leads. So a number of different automations that are happening here that are automatically assigning people, moving things around based on simple changes that we make. So really simple to set up, but at the same time, really, really powerful. So we move down then from our new leads into our qualified leads. I can see Z is here now. He's a qualified lead. Here's my information that I've captured earlier on. And we can then start working then on the opportunities related to Z and to his company. So at this point, we're going to move away from leads because we're now looking into opportunities. So I just want to show you real quickly contacts. So again, something else that's happened in the background is, Z has been added as a contact into our system. Here's the company he works for, it's connected. Here's his other information, his email, his phone number, etc., his location, whatever other information we want to see around Z, we can see here at this level. It's also then created, if it was a new account, it would create a new account as Provident is an existing account. Here's my company record now, and I can see the value of that particular account, the industry it's in, so on and so forth. And then if I open this view here, then I can see an overall perspective of that company. So what size is the company? What industry is it in? What type it is? And then I can look at further information around emails and activities related to this company? Who are the various different contacts at the company? What are the opportunities that we're working on with this company currently? So a real snapshot of what's happening with this company in one view. So I can go into and I can expand any one of these. So I want to see the activities related to this company. And here I can open up and I can see all the activities, emails, meetings, phone calls that have taken place. I can schedule meetings. I can put in some notes. I can put in a call summary, a call and I can add that in here. I can set up automations from here then as well. So when something happens, I can automate a workflow from here. I can send an email from here. This is connected to my Outlook or my Gmail. I can send an email directly from here to the contacts in that company. Equally, if I send an email from my Outlook or from my Gmail, they're automatically captured in the activities against the company here. So automatic activity tracking. We can link in phone systems as well. So if you want to go to that stage and have actual phone calls recorded against them, we can do that too. And we can see here, we can add different types of activities, sales order, phone call, or I can create a custom activity. So whatever my new activity type is, I can put it in here, give it a logo, save that, something I want to use again. So I can do a new activity type. There it is, and I can record that. So that's just one view that we've got, emails and activities related to that company. Contacts. So I can see again in one screen all the different contacts that I've got at this company. Good news is we seem to be hiring because he's growing. Z has just recently joined us. I can see his details here. I can see the other people in the company. I can see their phone numbers, so on, whatever other information I need around them. Opportunities. What opportunities are we working on with this company? I can see them here. I can see the value of those particular opportunities, the priority, what stage they're at, the value, the stage, the date, how long they've been in operation. And again, we can go into and we can look at any of these deals in particular. So I can go into this particular deal and I can see the details around, I can see the values, I can see when it's happening, what's happening with it, who's assigned to it, what's happening with it. And again, I can go in here and I can have some contextual communication around this. So I can say, so at, and I'm going to say today it's going to be Alex. So Alex, can you help me? So Alex now is going to get a notification around this and he's going to reply in context then. So what this does is it shortens that communication. I don't have to send an email to Alex saying, I need help with this deal. It's worth X. It's due in 1 day. He can see straight away all the details he needs around the deal, and he can reply then in context with this. And then if other colleagues are involved, they can see the history of what's taken place specifically in regards to this deal here. So really, really useful in terms of shortcutting that process of communication between colleagues and collaborating on, in this case, a sales opportunity. So this is our overall opportunity pipeline that we can see happening here. And again, we can capture whatever level of information is relevant to you. So I've got, close probabilities, forecast values. So if I look at my ProvidentCRM deal here, it's 1 day old so far. We don't have an owner assigned to it. So I'm going to assign myself as the owner to it. So I'm going to change that status and say we're at contract sent. Contract sent then, again, we're creating some automations that are happening in the background. Because I've changed the status, let's give it a value. Oops. Let's into the formula. Let's calculate the value. Clicked on the wrong box there. Forgive me. So I'm going to give this a value. I'm going to say this deal is potentially worth 50,000. And based then on my stage that it's at, it's going to automatically update. Sorry. Scroll too far. It's going to automatically update my close probability, my forecast value, and this then is feeding into the dashboards that I showed you earlier on. So this is where we're starting to see our pipeline, our forecast, our attainment against our forecast by rep, by team, by product, by geography, whatever it is. It's all feeding through from the detail that we put in here. We've got expected close date, actual deal value, etc., etc. So we can see all that information. We can customize this to capture whatever amount of information we want. And then we can see right here at the end how it's linked back then to the company. So that's what's giving us that overall perspective. And then when we scroll down here, then we've got our closed won deals. Again, they're feeding into our dashboards and our targets. And these can all be customized. We can capture whatever information is relevant to you and to your industry and to your business. So this is our main view, our main table view of the sales opportunities board on this particular view, but we can look at other things then as well once we've built this. So we can have a quick snapshot view of the deals that we've got at various different stages. So I can see the ones that we have won, the ones that are contract sent, the ones that are at lead status still. Maybe we want to see them as a Kanban view because that's more suitable to me. I can see them like that. It's the same information as we've got in the original board, just presented in a different way, just to whatever's comfortable for you. We can look at different charts that might be relevant in terms of those opportunities. We can look at calendar, maybe when we expect particular deals to close or when some activities are happening. Maybe a Gantt chart is more useful to us. We want to see when those deals are going to close, what that looks like. We can see them here, the deals we expect to happen in September, and so on. Or maybe we're on the road. There's a novelty. We can look at where are our deals located. So, for example, I'm going to be in Dublin. What deals do I have open in Dublin today? And is it worth going to see those deals as I'm in the area? Or maybe I want to schedule my week next week, so I can look at that from there. So lots of different ways that we can present that information once we've captured some basic information here. I mentioned earlier on, one of the metrics that we were looking at was around activities. So obviously we've got our pipeline, we've got our deals, we've got our deal values, but what leads to that? So one of the key indicators that we have around that is what are the activities that are taking place? So I've showed you earlier how we can track activities in against a deal or an opportunity, whether it be phone calls, emails, meetings, whatever else it might be. So we can track those activities in here, and we've got that record specifically related to a contact, to an opportunity, to a company. What it also does then, again, some of the magic that's happening in the background is it fills in this activities board. And this again is leading into some of the metrics and KPIs we've got in our dashboards. So we can start seeing that who's busy, who's involved, who's having lots of calls, who's having lots of meetings. Because we know in most cases that more activities are going to lead to more opportunities are going to lead to more closed deals are going to lead to greater revenue. It's all leading towards that. So once we've got that information, then again, we can drill down maybe into that and see why are particular people busy, what are they doing, so we can see, for example, Candy's got one activity, I'm winning, I've got two activities, I haven't been that busy, but just giving us an indication, and then we can start maybe drawing some information from that. So therefore, are our activities leading to pipeline, to opportunities? Hopefully they are, but it gives us some things that we can see from there. So that's real quickly, and apologies if I'm flying through this. I'm just conscious of time and that we've got so much to cover in here. So that's real quick leads, contacts, opportunities, pipeline, how that's happening automatically, some of the automations that are happening in the background to make the system do some work for us. So I've had my pipeline, I've won my deal, I'm all excited, I go home, I'm all happy. But that's not the end of the story. We've now got to hand on our opportunity to our operations team who've got to deliver the product or service that we've sold. So again, this is where we're connecting now the different parts of the business together. So we started with sales. Now we're going to move on to the post-sales idea. So we've got our client project. So when I've closed my opportunity, it's going to automatically create a project then in my post-sales here. So this is now where we can then have, depending upon what we're selling, either a project or a actual deliverable, something physical, and we hand this over then to the operations team who are then responsible for delivering this. Again, whether it's virtual or physical, whatever it might be, they've then got the information they need to see. They can see what was sold, when it's expected to be delivered, who it's going to be delivered to, the company, the timeline that's been agreed to, and all that. So seamless handover of information from sales to operations to ensure we can do delivery from there. So in this case, we're saying client project, so it's an actual project, or we could have, we've got a new client we're providing a service to, we have to onboard that client with our service, and we can set out that whole process of how that's going to happen. We can assign somebody from the projects team, from the operations team to deliver that. And again, we can run through that same thing of automations, workflows, make things happen from here. So that's happening. Operations team, obviously my operations knowledge is a lot less because I'm spending way less time on this, but just to give you, I guess, a picture of how we can seamlessly go from sales to operations. We've shipped our product, we've delivered our service, we need to get paid. We involve the finance team. So again, they've got the deal in here, they've got the account it's related to, they can see it's been delivered because the operations team have been involved in that. They can see the value, we can see whether it's been invoiced. We could integrate then at this point potentially with finance system. So we've got a lot of integrations, and I'm sure you're aware that we can integrate with. So we can integrate with a finance system into here. So just to give you an idea, some of the out-of-the-box ones that exist here. If the one you're using today doesn't show up on this, don't worry, we can add further ones to this. We can do some custom integrations for you around that. So this then allows us then to go from sales to operations to finance. And then we could go further. We could involve the tech support team or the service team then next. They're aware of what sold, what product was shipped, when it was shipped, what the warranty might be. So all moving seamlessly from one area to the next. Workflows where possible to automate things, automate functions to ensure that we're getting the system to work for us. Collaboration between various different departments, communication in context with whatever we're working on, and then all feeding then into our high-level overview, our pipeline, and allowing us to see from an overall perspective what that looks like. I think I've talked a lot, and apologies, I've kind of run through that fast. I'm just trying to cover as much as possible. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to hand back over to Z for a moment. Just to cover some more, I'm going to take a quick sip of water, and then after that, then we will be moving on then to the questions and so on after that.
So you definitely deserve the sip of water, Martin. No, thank you for that, and I hope you guys in the room enjoyed it. I certainly really enjoyed seeing how Martin is making Monday work hard as a system, rather than a salesperson have to do all those little bits and pieces and actions. So now that we've seen the demonstration and you have an idea of exactly what the platform can do, it might be interesting, I thought, to share some examples of how it has helped our clients. So I've got two very quick case studies to share with you. The first one is a company called Parvenu. As I mentioned, we've got customers all over the world. These guys are based in Canada. They are an organization that helps collect donations from payment systems. And they integrated Monday into their sales team. They have a fairly small sales team. I believe it's less than 10 people, but immediately they could see the impact of Monday.com as a CRM. They've added 150 automations, as you can see, 52 integrations, and that's on one single board. As Martin showed, you can have multiple boards, all for different functions, different teams, with different purposes. And what I really like about this is knowing that it gives value back to such a small business, because you have about 200 actions there that are no longer done manually. So just imagine the time saving that gives the business. On the other end of the scale, the second case study we have is with the McChrystal Group. So some of you might have come across them. They are a consultancy business and set up by General Stanley McChrystal. I think they have thousands of employees across the world, predominantly in the US. So it's a very, very different profile of customer to Parvenu. But one thing that this really highlights is just how powerful Monday can be, how it can be scaled, and actually how it can be impactful at a time like last year, when the McChrystal Group really increased their usage of Monday, and in line with that, were able to increase their revenues amid the COVID-19 outbreak. So it's not just the revenues are important, but some of the other numbers at the bottom, 67% of time saved from weekly meetings. Instead of having a sync with your colleagues every day or week or month, you can really, as Martin showed, have that discussion in context on an item, and that saves a tremendous amount of time. 6 times more daily webinars from the marketing and sales team, clearly great for lead activation and generation. And then the stat that I like the most is the 50% faster in closing deals. I don't know their business inside out, but I would suspect a lot of that comes from not having to chase people over the phone or in a meeting, and actually being able to collaborate and work quicker across teams. So 2 case studies there, which I thought hopefully are helpful for you to see some of the results.
Yeah, really interesting.
Yeah. And then I believe we wanted to move on and see if there are any questions for the room, right?
Yeah, super. So we've managed to fly through this. We've got actually about 15 minutes, which is exactly as we scheduled. So we're doing well on our time. So that's good. So just we've got some questions on which we'd like to address, and feel free if you do have other questions to put them in either the chat or the Q&A, and we'll do our best to answer those now. So just a few of them that we've got. So just some questions that we've got here. So in terms of, we've got a question here from Sonia who wants to know how we can connect all the pipeline processes in Monday, including success analysis. So Sonia is a current existing customer with Monday. She's already using Monday to manage our sales process. Hopefully, Sonia, what we've shown you today gives you some ideas around the further depth we can go through over what you're using now. And again, happy to run through that with you specifically. In terms of how you can connect all the pipeline processes, hopefully from what I've shown you today, you can see how we can link the customer, the contact, the customer, the opportunity, the pipeline all together. I didn't delve into all the background stuff that was happening there that's making that happen, but happy to do that in more detail with you if that would make sense. But hopefully you can see from what we should say that is absolutely possible, and that overall perspective then we can bring in terms of having the view of the company, the view of the contacts, the view of the opportunities, the one big picture that we've got on that. So hopefully what we've shown you today already has helped answer that. I'm happy to go into any more detail around that for you.
So just to add to that, Martin, as well, the other thing that I wanted to mention about sales pipelines is that all of them are different for every business that we work with. You know, we have companies in using Monday in media who have a completely different setup to companies who might be using us in manufacturing. So I think one of the beauties of, or one of the nice things about Monday as a CRM is that it's super adaptable. All of those fields and columns that Martin showed, they can be set up from scratch and they can be modified with just the base template of the solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One of the other questions then we have is what's the advantage of using Monday.com versus a dedicated CRM tool like Salesforce? So this is a pretty good question. I was actually had a meeting today with a customer, which is unusual. For a long time, I haven't been in one of those, and this exact question actually came up. I think there's a couple of aspects that I would see where Monday can be useful versus a dedicated CRM tool, whether that's Salesforce or another one that you might be using or might be considering. The main thing that I see is that Monday can be used not just as a CRM, but hopefully, as we've shown you, also cross-departmental. The Monday originally, the objective or the main use case for Monday originally was project management. The way I view that is that it was project management in some respects, not for project managers, but for people who weren't project managers, but needed to manage things. So everybody's got things they need to do. There's deadlines they need to be done by, things need to happen to achieve overall goals. That's the project. So Monday started from there, and then from there we've expanded out use cases. So it's one of the biggest use cases we have for Monday is for marketing teams. So running your whole marketing plan, your marketing process, your plan for the year, your activities, your social posts, et cetera, is a major use case for Monday. So there are lots of different ways that Monday can be used across different departments, which is really unique, I think, versus other CRMs that might be in the market. So we do not just the sales processes we've shown, but also tie in the finance team, the operations team, the marketing team can be working, to get to that lead stage. The marketing team are doing a lot of work in advance. We can have the HR team involved. We can have production team involved, product development team involved. So that's the real big difference, I think, for me, that Monday brings over other CRM tools, which may be solely focused on the sales process part.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the only other thing I would add to that is that as a company, one of our missions is to make software easy to use. And I think the adaptability of Monday, allowing people who aren't technically minded, or certainly I'm not a technical genius by any stretch, to be able to create their own software that's useful for them. That's one thing that we're really focused on. And actually, I think that goes back to the point from the previous poll where I think a lot of the audience were looking at trying to connect data from different systems. So yeah, another advantage, as Martin said, is really if you have all of that data in one place already, the connection is easy and you don't have to build custom integrations or do multiple API links to make that happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the ease of use and ease of adoption is really important as well. So if you're, Monday looks, certainly from the feedback that we get, it looks relatively familiar. It's relatively easy to get up and running for new users. Really important that if you're putting a system in place that people know, get engaged, use it, because otherwise it's a waste of everybody's time and effort if that doesn't happen. So Monday is easy to adapt, easy to use, easy to customize, very much so in terms of adding whatever information you need to see. You don't need some super qualified admin to make changes to the system. Anybody with some basic knowledge can make those changes. So there's some real big advantages I think we see over other systems that might be out there. Do you want to take this next one?
The third one, yes, absolutely. So one of the questions that came in is, can Monday.com replace MailChimp to send a newsletter to contacts? I think technically the answer is yes. We have the ability within what Martin showed you, and also the platform itself, to have the contacts, the email addresses. You can set up cadences and templates and activities. And you can also, through integrations with Gmail and Outlook, send those directly from a designated email address, and also automate cadences as well. So the short answer is yes. Now, the more complex answer is, as I mentioned before, we use Monday at Monday, as you might imagine. And one of the big users of Monday at Monday is the marketing team. So the marketing team, we'd be naive to say Monday is the only product that they use. They use Figma, they use Adobe, they use MailChimp. And one thing that we actually like about the system ourselves is that it does allow for all of those different integrations. There are various different tools which may already be part of your tech stack or what you're using as a business, which you quite like, or you are very used to using, or see that the rest of the team will continue to use in the future. And so you don't actually have to move away from them. You don't have to find a new way to adapt to that process. Of course, you can choose to replicate some of that within Monday, but if it's a simple tool like sending out a mailing list and you're happy with MailChimp, then yeah, absolutely, just use the off-the-shelf integration that's in Monday natively, and you can keep doing what you're doing and just have the data passed back into the system so that marketing can track it.
Yeah, I had another, again, similar question from a client I saw today, and they were asking around those kind of automations of communication with clients, not just with email. Yeah. So one of the use cases we were discussing was they were shipping out a product. So they were updating the status in Monday for the product being shipped, and they want to know how they could notify the customer. So a simple thing that we put in place, that there's an automation that when the status changes to shipped, automatically sends an email to the client saying your product has been shipped, or even sends them a text message if that's what you want to do. So they were, the idea that you're keeping people informed of what's happening. And again, automatic. I don't need to send a message. It happens automatically when my status changes to shipped. Automatically sends an email, sends a text message, whatever you might want to do. So as he said, you can do automation of processes, workflows. I delved into it very briefly there in the presentation. And if it's something you want to see more about, let us know afterwards, and we can happy to show you more detail on that. I'm just conscious of time. So if anybody got any further questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the QA or in the chat there, and we'll do our best to answer them in the next couple of minutes that we've got left. Do we have any others? Let me just have a look and see what we've got. So we've covered about integrations. We've covered about how we can plug that in there. If you've got any follow-on questions, then something we haven't covered today, something that occurs to you afterwards, please get in contact afterwards, send us an email, get in touch. Happy to arrange in details, either myself or Z directly, in terms of how we can help with you. I hope today's been useful. It's been great to actually be in a room for a change. You can see it's live. There's people walking around in the background. We are here. It's not a recording. I won't hold up a newspaper to prove it's today, but I'm sure you get the picture. So look, great. Thank you for attending. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for being here. I hope it's been useful. If you have specific requirements you'd like to talk to us about, please get in touch. Whether it's sales, CRM, whether it's other aspects of Monday.com that you might need help with, whether you need training, whether you need help with integrations, workflows, whatever it might be, more than happy to help. And look forward to seeing you on another webinar in the near future.